didn't see you there. You have got to stop sneaking up on me like that. I was just getting my board ready to show you some blocks made from crumb pieces. This is episode 9 on We Are Quilters. This lovely board was my son's science fair board. Wait, let me pop up a picture right here so you can see how cute he was when he was little. He's going to be upset with that, but oh well. And let's get to it. Let's have a show.
First up is the wedding ring quilt. Here I have assembled some pieces, and you can see the outside is and the inside of the arcs are green. And here are a couple of the arcs. They look like footballs to me. One side is pink, one side is blue. Here's another arc. The whole outside circle is blue and the inside is pink. Here's just an example of a piece I was playing with scraps with pink interiors. Now for a quick look at some of the pieces that I have ready, just a few. I've hung up 10 pink arcs so you can see them on my design board. And then I hung up another 10 of the yellow arcs. These all have the papers removed from them so that they are ready to put into a quilt. Here are blue and purple. You notice that the colors range from light to dark for a good variety of pieces. That's the whole point of using up scraps. And here are some green. The 3 on the right are trimmed out. The other 7 on the left are not. And these all still have the papers in them. I'm focusing on this lovely little green piece. My grandmother would have loved this fluorescent fabric. She would have made throw pillows out of this. Let me focus in on a couple of the arcs. Here you can see a piece goes diagonally across an arc. And then there are also sometimes small pieces within the arc. This was probably a half square triangle. And then this piece has a bar that goes the whole way from one end of the arc to the other. And now the rainbow collage hanging on the board from top to bottom. I didn't hang up all of the pieces. Here's the pile of blue that didn't get put on the board and a smaller pile of yellow. My focus was really cool colors when I started, and a pile of pink that didn't make it to the board. I could have been hanging pieces up for a long time. I just recently started creating the green arcs, so these still have some paper in them. Now for the Dresden Plates. I have finally made a design decision. I cut these pieces of cardboard to make a template so that I could cut my paper foundations. You will notice that the paper foundation has about 1/4 inch. I don't draw these out exactly. I just freeform it because I'll trim it out later. The cardboard is the actual size of the piece before it is sewn into a block. There is no real pattern for these 12 blocks. I would decide, oh, I want points on the outside. I would like some swirl. So there is no real pattern. I can show you how to do this in a later series if you would like. Let me know below in the comments. This one, I wanted that outside ring with that fantastic pattern. This one, I wanted a sun swirl in the middle. And I wanted it to look like it was exploding outward. Here's a close-up of some of the fins. I did use double-sided ribbon as a decoration on the outside. I love those little monkeys. Monkeys are always fun. That was in a quilt for my son. And here's the exploding sun pattern in the middle. I had to figure out how far up to make those little points so it would have little points the whole way around after I added that center. On this block, I decided that the center would be exploding and it would alternate with orange. And then I added points on the outside. There are 2 fabrics made into Faco prairie points. The top one is left loose so that it adds a dimensional factor to it. I thought this would be a cool idea. This one has the same sort of thing, but the prairie points are sewn down on the outside edge with 2 colors. I wanted this block to be very bright, and it is. It's in your face. I'm not sure how I feel about the points on the end, even though they are staggered in a pattern. I'm not sure how I feel about those. This one was the first block, and it is very free-form with alternating points on the end between the green and the darker flowered. This was one of the first blocks also. I'm not sure how I feel about that middle. I do like the pattern around. It is very circular, but the center looks like a pig nose. I love the way this block turned out. It reminds me of a buzzsaw or a saw blade on my father's sawmill. All of the pieces had angled lines drawn on them, and then I tried to match them up with scraps as best I could, but I didn't worry about it too much. Every wedge had light blue on it in this block so that it looks like it's alternating, and I used a contrasting pink in the middle. This block has beautiful colors in it. I love the way the purple points look like a compass rose when all is said and done. This was the last block I made in this series of blocks, and now they're ready to be assembled. I was going for that compass rose look, and I think I achieved that with using the dark and the light. Here's a close-up of that, and yes, I did use a doily in the center instead of using a piece of cloth. You remember the flower challenge from my first video. Here's another picture of it to refresh your memory. It's still a work in progress. Here are the flowers in the middle. The foundation I used for the flowers was 2 pieces of regular copy paper taped together, and then I sewed the flower on, and then I freeform cut around it. The leaves are 1 sheet of paper, and I just sewed green scraps on. Some of them are better looking than others. I do like the peach version of the flower, but I don't think my color placement was as good as it could have been. Here are crumb blocks in a big block setting. I used 4.5-inch blocks that read background for all of these blocks. I thought I had this quilt assembled into a top, but lo and behold, I did not. So here are a few of the blocks. There are 9 total. They are very large blocks, but each one has those 4.5 crumb blocks in them. And some of them, like this one, I was running out of that fabulous pink polka dot fabric, so I pieced together scraps to make sections, even the triangles, so that I could finish. This is the only one of those blocks that has the colored parts pieced in it, but I needed a little bit more of that dot, and it was not available. Pattern to use crumb blocks. It's in the rough stages. You'll see at the end. Here's my pattern, and here are the numbers at the bottom, how many blocks I need. I'm good for the blue and the green and the colored sections, but I need more of the background. Here's a box with all the pieces counted out and ready to go, except all the background. I need 156 squares yet of background. I'm getting there slowly but surely. Here are 24 trimmed out blocks that need the paper removed, and here are another 42 blocks that need to be trimmed and have the paper removed. These blocks are made with a fancy sashing. Here it is on my bulletin board. This is what I use to cover my bulletin board. It has all kinds of piece blocks. Here's the actual block. Yeah, there's the actual block. Take a good look at it. It does not look like the finished block. And here are the sashing pieces. And let's look at that again. So the sashing pieces actually add star points to the block. When fabric is running out and you need to make just a few little pieces, in these blocks I was missing 4 2.5-inch squares of that lovely peacock fabric, and I had a backup, but it just was not as good. So here is a close-up of this block. You can't even tell There is one of the piece sections. The busier the print on the fabric, the more likely it is to hide it. Here's another one of those 2.5-inch pieces. And you can see it on the back. I pressed it open so it would be very flat and not as noticeable. Works beautifully, don't you think? Have you ever just made crumb blocks for fun? I was just getting ready to wrap up this video when I found this box of 6.5-inch blocks. I don't even know when I made these things. It's been so long ago. They are pretty little blocks, though. They are pieced onto muslin, and you can see I picked one that shows that I didn't use white thread on the back. But yeah, they're not pieced on paper. These would look great on a gray background. Maybe I will add that little shadow in fabric around 2 of the edges. I've seen a quilt made like that. It was fantastic. Do you remember this block? This isn't really a crumb block, it's just scraps. It was from one of my bonus episodes. Here it is. It's a square with a strip put down through the middle. And I show you a variety of layouts so that you can see how versatile this little block is. Well, here's the border, and this is where I used it as a border. I did not have all black, but here is the quilt that uses it as one of the borders in all its colors. I call this Flowers Around the Cabin. There you can see the border just a little bit better.
Well,
Beautiful.
That wraps it up for this week and this episode. Next week we will have our last episode in the Scrappy is Happy series, hexagons, one of my favorite shapes. Oh, and by the way, did I point out my Einstein shirt? He's making my hair look good. Shh, don't tell my husband. Oh, wait, he already knows. He paid for the sign.